Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. All right, I wanted to come on here for just a few minutes to share my thoughts on another Criterion Collection title. This is a title on Blu-ray, and this is a title that I had not originally planned to do a review on this channel. So every month I try to sort of sketch out the titles I plan to do a review of, and I pretty much stick to that schedule for the most part, but then I'll sprinkle in a title or two that I had not originally planned to review, and that is the case with the Criterion Collection edition of Chilly Scenes of Winter. This was not on my list of titles that I was going to review for this month, but having seen this film, this 1979 film by Joan Micklin Silver, I definitely had to come on here and share my thoughts on this very, very interesting portrayal of the complications of love and romantic relationships, unrequited love, and the challenges of loving someone that doesn't love you back in the same way, which is something that a lot of us can relate to. We've all experienced that, or most of us have experienced times in our life where we felt more for someone than that person felt back for us. And that is a big part of this story. It stars John Heard in an absolutely extraordinary performance. He plays Charles. Okay, Charles is he's a bit of an office worker. He's a civil servant. He does these different reports for this company. Doesn't go into a ton of detail about his work, which I think is probably for the best, but he's a civil servant. He does these reports and he has medium satisfaction in his job and what he's doing. It pays the bills. But one day he runs into this woman named Laura. And Laura is played by Beth Hurt. And John Heard and Beth Hurt, they're just phenomenal in their roles. But Laura is a woman that Charles meets. He is absolutely in love with her from the very first moment he sees her. He's just infatuated from the beginning. And it begins this obsession with this woman that is really the engine of this whole story, is this whole romance between Charles and Laura and his desire to pursue this woman. Slight complication that is in the works is the fact that Laura happens to be married. So that is a little bit of a complication to this relationship that Charles is trying to start with her. He's infatuated with her. He's obsessed with her. He loves her, or at least he believes he loves her in an obsessive type of a way. And what I like about this film, Chilly Scenes of Winter, is how it just deals with the reality of that, a situation that many of us can relate to at some point in our lives. And this movie deals with it in a real stark kind of way. And that's driven largely by John Heard's performance, which I think is just phenomenal. One of the best performances I've seen in recent films that I've watched. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of his movies. This might be the very first movie of his that I've seen, but I'm very impressed by this actor and his work. I think he passed away about 5 or 6 years ago in 2017, but very impressive actor, Mr. John Heard. Beth Hurt, equally impressive as Laura. I think she did an amazing job as this woman who is married. She's separated from her husband, having problems in her marriage. She's now encountering this other man that she might want to get involved with, still trying to sort out her feelings. Why is she leaving her husband? Should she get involved with this man? Should she get her life entangled and complicated in this way? These are the questions that Laura is going through. And Charles is dealing with his own obsession of Laura and their relationship in and out, and the ups and downs of the relationship throughout the running time of this movie is the narrative of this amazing film by director Joan Micklin Silver. This film is based on a novel from Ann Beattie, and it is an absolute great source of material. And part of what you'll learn in going through the special features is the story of Joan Micklin Silver's working relationship with Ann Beattie and how supportive Ann Beattie was in the making of this film. And the only thing that Ann Beattie required, or one of the things she required, was that she get to be in the movie. So she does have a small part in the movie. You'll see it. She basically plays a waitress, and Charles is trying to pay her on the way out, but you see her in sort of a non-speaking role as a waitress. That's Ann Beattie, the novelist who wrote the novel Chilly Scenes of Winter that this movie is based on. So Joan Micklin Silver did a wonderful job directing this movie and just showing the starkness and the reality of these types of relationships. You see Charles and Laura, you see the supporting cast in terms of Charles's friendship and Laura's relationships with the man that she's married to. You see a little bit of that, and also his daughter that she is basically the stepmother of. You just see a lot of that dynamic in terms of the supporting characters. Charles has an aging mother that he has to care for and provide, caretaking responsibilities for. So that brings a dynamic to the story. It's just a stark and realistic story of life in Boston during a very cold and hard winter, a story of unrequited love, a story of a man obsessed with a woman, and that woman likes him, but doesn't quite go all the way to loving him at the same level that he loves her. So that's the story of Chilly Scenes of Winter. You see the inside of the case here. This is Laura, the character played by Mary Beth Hurd. And I'll read the back of the case here. It says, Chilly Scenes of Winter, the trailblazing Joan Micklin Silver, one of only a handful of women to direct a film for a major Hollywood studio in the 1970s. So a trailblazing pioneer. She digs fearlessly into the psychology of a thorny relationship in this anti-romantic comedy based on Ann Beattie's best-selling novel about lovelorn civil servant Charles John Hurd and his married but separated co-worker Laura, Mary Beth Hurt. Months after their affair has ended, Charles is haunted by memories as he desperately attempts to rekindle a love that perhaps never was. So they get into this relationship. Of course, they separate. He's wondering, was this love ever real or not? He's trying to get her back, but is he really getting her back, or was she ever really with him? So that's part of the brilliance of this film, is the examination of these types of relationships that many of us can relate to. Switching deftly between past and present, Micklin Silver guides this piercing deconstruction of male wish fulfillment fantasy beyond standard movie romance tropes into something more complicated and cuttingly truthful. So that's a great description of this film from the Criterion, the back of the case. They always do a great job describing these movies. This is the insert. See the character of Laura. You see Chilly Scenes of Winter there. Very nice. You see Laura here, and you see this character here. This is Charles, looking from the outside looking in, which is really a big part of his experience. He's in this relationship with this married woman, which has some moral implications there. That's something something he shouldn't be doing. She shouldn't be doing. Is not right? So they're involved in that. And it's just interesting seeing him on the outside looking in, because that's the dynamic of the situation that he is in. You see the cast, the wonderful cast of Chilly Scenes of Winter. John Hurd plays Charles. Mary Beth Hurt plays Laura, the woman that he's involved with. And you see a wonderful cast, Sam, Peter Reigert, Pete, played by Kenneth McMillan. You have Clara, played by Gloria Graham. Clara is the mother of John Hurd's character. John Hurd's character, Charles. So Clara is played by wonderful classic Hollywood actress Gloria Graham. Is that her name? Yeah, make sure I'm right. Gloria Graham, yes. Gloria Graham played in, some amazing films. She played in this film here, which is another edition in the Criterion Collection 810. She played with Humphrey Bogart, the Nicholas Ray film, In a Lonely Place. So you see Gloria Graham here with Humphrey Bogart. This is a great addition from Criterion, by the way. If you're thinking about Criterion Collection recommendations, definitely consider In a Lonely Place, starring Humphrey Bogart. If you like classic Hollywood, this is a great film. It stars Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham in an absolutely extraordinary movie that I highly recommend. This is the inside. So I'm just giving you another Criterion Collection recommendation here, as you're thinking about titles to pick up for the sale. That's why I'm coming on here talking about this film, Chilly Scenes of Winter, that I hadn't originally thought to come on here and talk about. But I was really impressed with this movie, and I said, you know what? I need to share my thoughts on this title to give you guys something to think about as you're putting together your list, figuring out, okay, I picked up these titles. What other titles should I consider picking up? Should I pick up any titles at all? I've heard of this title coming out, or that's come out, called Chilly Scenes of Winter. I see this cover. What is this movie about? Is it something that's worth picking up or not? I think it is. I think it is because it tells a real story that we can relate to on so many levels of the complications of love and romance. And I just thought it was phenomenal. Now, I will say that my experience watching this film was a little bit interesting because I watched it over like 3 nights. In the first couple of nights I tried watching it, I think it was very late and I was pretty tired. And I pretty much fell asleep. And at the beginning, I wasn't really getting into the story. I wasn't really feeling this story, frankly, at all. In fact, I thought I didn't like this movie the first couple of times I tried watching it, and I fell asleep. And I think it was because it was very late at night within the first 10, 15 minutes. But then the third time around, I sat down. It was a lot earlier, and I watched this movie and was absolutely blown away by this film. I could really appreciate what I was watching, and I was in that right state of mind, in that right place to watch and appreciate this film. And I think that's something to sort of think about, that sometimes I've seen films probably not in the best state, and so I wasn't really able to appreciate it, but then I finally came around to it again and watched this movie and was blown away by this film. So I highly recommend it. You can see the wonderful art on the inside. Just joking, it's all blank on the inside. But on the inside, you have this wonderful insert. The disc is in the player here, of course. And you've got some nice special features that are included in here, which I'll speak to. But let me just talk a little bit about the new restored 4K digital transfer with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. So this is a 4K digital transfer. This movie looks very nice on this Blu-ray disc. It's a perfectly fine high definition image of a 1979 film. And I was pretty pleased with the picture. It's not gonna blow you away. It's not the greatest or the best picture ever, but it is a solid picture quality. Now, I'll read about the transfer. It says, Chilly Scenes of Winter is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1. This new digital transfer was created in 4K resolution on a laser graphics director film scanner from the original 35mm camera negative. That's always great to see that it's a restoration from the original camera negative 35mm. So it's a 4K transfer and it looks great. It looks wonderful on this Blu-ray disc. Again, it's not, if I don't do number ratings on this channel, but I would rate it very highly. It's a very nice Blu-ray disc. It's not the top of the top picture quality wise, but it's certainly, better than the medium. It's somewhere in between medium to great, which is very, very good. It's a solid picture all the way around. And it's from a 4K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative. The sound is based on a uncompressed monaural soundtrack. It sounds perfectly fine. A lot of dialogue in this film, and you can hear everything, with the dialogue, the characters and what they're saying. It's all very, very clear. Now, in addition to this standout film, I think there's a couple of things you're going to want to be aware of in the special features that I think you're going to definitely want to be aware of. First of all, there's a new program on here that features producers Griffin Dunn, Mark Metcalf, and Amy Robinson. Now, they were known as Triple Play Productions. Griffin Dunn was part of that. Griffin Dunn is the star of the Martin Scorsese film from 1985 called After Hours, which I believe was a double play production. I think that included 2 of these characters in it. But these are actors, Griffin Dunn, Mark Metcalf, and Amy Robinson, who got involved in production. And this is a great program with them sitting down, talking about their experiences with this film, working with Joan Micklin Silver, their experiences working together. And they really go into some depth into some of the aspects of this film and the performances of the actors, and just so much of what went into making this amazing film about relationships. You have a documentary from 1983 by Katja Raganelli about director Joan Micklin Silver. I believe that's in German. It's a German lady who is doing a documentary about Joan Micklin Silver in 1983, which is very, very good. So you see Joan Micklin Silver around the time, a couple years after she did this film, and you see her talking about her experiences as a filmmaker, which is great. You have excerpts from a 2005 Directors Guild of America interview with Micklin Silver. Very importantly, you have the original ending of the film, which was cut by Micklin Silver for its re-release in 1982. So what you get on this film here is the director's cut, Joan Micklin Silver's cut for this film, the way that she wanted this movie to end. And you'll get to see this film, you'll see the ending of this film, and then you get to see this original ending that this film, I believe when it came out, it first came out under the title of Head Over Heels. They thought it was more marketable to call it Head Over Heels at the time of the original release of this movie, because they didn't want to release it under the title Chilly Scenes of Winter, because they thought that that would get confused with an Ingmar Bergman film, and they didn't want that. So they said, let's call it Head Over Heels. And they had this original ending, which went another direction. And so I don't want to spoil anything. Just watch this movie and see the ending of the movie, and then see the original ending. And I think you'll understand why Joan Micklin Silver went with the ending that you'll see here on this disc, and why she chose to end the film the way that she did. And I think it's a far more satisfying and rewarding way to end the film. So I definitely appreciated that. You get a trailer on here, and you also get an essay in this insert, Nowhere Fast by Shoni Inalo. So you get an excellent essay from Shani Inalo included in here. But overall, this is a very fine release from the Criterion Collection. If you were thinking about what other titles should I think about picking up as part of this Barnes & Noble 50% off sale, you might want to consider adding Chilly Scenes of Winter to your list. It's an excellent film, great performances by John Hurt and Mary Beth Hurt, wonderful direction by Joan Micklin Silver based on an excellent book, Chilly Scenes of Winter by Ann Beattie. You'll also learn about some of the creative changes that Joan Micklin Silver made to the source material, and the fact that Ann Beattie actually appreciated those changes. The novelist actually appreciated and liked the film that Joan Micklin Silver put together and the slight tweaks and changes that she made to the story. So hey folks, I wanted to insert this little bit here because I forgot to mention this while I was taping this review, but this is very important. A little bit more insight into director Joan Micklin Silver, as she was talking about during one of the interviews on this disc that you'll get a chance to see in the special features. She talked about her background and some of her influences and some of the films that influenced her, and she mentioned Shadow of a Doubt, the Alfred Hitchcock film, so that's definitely a connection to a Hitchcock movie that inspired this director. That's a great movie, by the way, and this is a great set, this Alfred Hitchcock's 4K set, so definitely consider that if you don't have it. But then she also talked about her influences from films like Satyajit Ray's Pather Panchali, which really impacted her. And by the way, this is a release from the Criterion Collection called the Apu Trilogy, that if you have not heard of it, it basically tells in these three films the story of this young boy named Apu at different stages of his life growing up and the challenges of his life growing up in India. And it is from the 1950s, and it is an absolutely extraordinary experience. The process of getting these films restored is basically a miracle of film restoration that Criterion was involved with. So it's just amazing that we even have these films today, and it's just a testament to the great work of people who do film restoration. This Apu trilogy, if you're interested in this type of international cinema, definitely something to consider for the Criterion Collection sale. That's a really good one. So yeah, she was influenced by Alfred Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt, as well as Pather Panchali from Satyajit Ray. That's part of the influences of Joan Micklin Silver. I forgot to mention that as I was recording this review, but I can't remember everything. I can't memorize everything, but I did want to make sure that I included that in this video. Thanks. Just a great package all the way around, a wonderful look into this filmmaker that I had never heard of before or seen any films from her before, Joan Micklin Silver, and I can definitely recommend it. Definitely consider picking up Chilly Scenes of Winter. It's a good one. Good story from 1979. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on this film, Chilly Scenes of Winter in the Criterion Collection edition. This is a good one to consider as part of the 50% off sale as you're trying to figure out what other titles to add to your haul for the month. But let me know in the comments section below, what titles are you picking up as part of this 50% off sale? What other sales are you participating in? And what other Criterion packages or Criterion titles, I'm losing my words. What other Criterion titles are you looking to pick up as part of this 50% off sale during the month of July? Let me know that in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.